And welcome back into the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey, Chris Daughtry behind the scenes for today's live show. We'll go through all the latest on the Cowboys as the NFL draft rapidly approaches. As we sit here with really days to go until this year's NFL draft, right now, which side of the ball do you think needs more help? O for the offense, D for the defense. This is the pinned poll, by the way, on today's show as well, so you can go vote. Both sides need help. Which one needs more help? 74% voting O for the offense, 26% voting D for the defense, now kind of hovering at 75-25. Both need help. There's no doubt about that. Which side needs more, though? I got O's from Herman, Seabass, John Jones, Daniel, Eric, made by Angel, all typing in D for the defense. Rika Gray, Lewis got O for the offense. I think I'd lean slightly towards the offensive side, which does make sense because they did invest a little bit more on the defensive side of the ball, too. You know, they brought back Osa Odigizua. Corner still stands out, and nose guard as big areas of need. But if you had to, you're probably looking for like one starter on defense, but you probably want two on offense. And there's room for upgrades on a lot of sides still. Guard, linebacker potentially, nose guard like we mentioned. There's room for more impact there. I think DT and corner on defense are the main areas, and running back receiver on offense. And we'll discuss those needs, by the way, on today's show. We'll go in depth on them. Other votes, Dave's got O, Caden has D, Joshua, Felicia, Vinny for the King, Mark, Eric, all typing in O for offense. Montrell says O for offense. Roy Williams says O for offense. Don't know which one. Ecuador Man says D. John says my heart needs more help. What? Come on. Michael says O. Marshall says O. Sorterin says O. Seabass says crazy team is more invested in cap-wise in the offense. The offense needs more help compared to the defense. That is true. It's also, you're paying the quarterback, and that's most teams end up having more invested into the offense because the quarterback is just so much more expensive than most of the other positions. But it's also an issue when, you're not really paying many people on defense right now. It's Micah, Osa, and Trayvon Diggs for now. That's offense has Dak and CeeDee Lamb and kind of Terrence Steele. If we're going to count Steele, we should count Diggs. So, but there's just big holes that are still real question marks there. All right, today's show is made possible by Game Time with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets or any tickets, Stars, Mavs, but of course the Rangers as well. The Game Time guarantee is this. You find tickets in the same section and row for less, they'll credit you 110% of the difference. Keep an eye out for the last-minute deals. You have to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for not just sports, but concerts, comedy, theater, etc. Zone deals. You pick the section, let Game Time choose the seats to save more money. And, of course, the all-in pricing feature. Shows your total cost to check out with no surprise fees. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create your account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, all guaranteed. JNY Blue, defense wins championships. Just looks at Philadelphia. Their front line destroyed KC, DC for life. They also scored 40 points, which helps. Now, defense touchdowns, of course, a factor in there. I always want to emphasize this part in general. All of these things need both. You can't just have all offense, and you can't just have all defense. You need to have both to have success. Chiefs had a good defense, but they got gashed this year. Steve Spagnuolo was cooking on defense all season long, and did a great job. Held the Bills to under 30. The Texans had 14. They weren't allowing a bunch of 30-plus games, but it kind of all favored out. So you need both of those things. You need to have top 10 on both sides, or generational type of one side of the ball. So, I look, you need to have a good defense. The Cowboys, I think, need help at both of these things right now. What is your confidence level in the Cowboys drafting overall? It's another critical draft for the Cowboys. They need to not miss on the picks the way they've missed on in recent years, or at least potentially have missed on them so far. It's tough to be a team that needs instant impact and say, we're going to draft the developmental guy. I am a little bit worried that this team is falling too much into the traits love. It's always a balance, and the traits gets you more upside, more downside. I'm worried a little bit they're too in love with that right now. So what is your confidence level in the Cowboys drafting? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. A lot of 6.9s in there, which I think actually is probably a decent answer, just non-meme related. I think that's actually pretty solid on that front. I think that's about right. Like, it's taken a hit the last 2 years. How can it not have? They still overall draft better than most, but when they operate in free agency, they have to almost draft perfectly. All right, the Super Chat menu for today's show. $5 Venmo. You are into the Micah decision pool. We'll break that down in depth here in a second. The Venmo's at WhatGoingDowney. $10, for those of you that do not know, wife and I are expecting kid number 2. It's a boy this time. So $10, and I'm required by law to text your baby name submission to my wife. And I will reveal what her response is. I said she could do like one word, one phrase, emoji, reaction. So you could have fun with it. $10 for baby names, which I'll tell you mine. I want to go with T name something and then Rex as the middle name, so I can call him T-Rex. That's what I want real bad. Right now I'm being outvoted 1-1. So that's what I want. We'll see if it actually happens. Odds are low, but she hasn't straight up said no yet. She's just rolled her eyes a lot and ignored it. So that's not a no yet. $20 shot or bean boozled. $50 for the beer bong. Haven't done a beer bong in a while, by the way. All right, the Micah decision pool is as follows. You pick the date Micah signs or is traded. You can go to chatsports.com to see, or chatsports.com/Micah to see the entries. Venmo me at WhatGoingDowney, $5 if you want in there. On that front, 50-50 split the pot for the winners. Got a couple entries in there so far, one of which is going to come and go on the 13th, so getting a little tight on time. If you want in on that, chatsports.com/Micah to see the entries. We do have the National Championship tonight, which tips off way too freaking late, by the way. I don't understand why college basketball keeps doing like 8:30 plus tip-off times. It's nonsense. It doesn't do 8:15, 8 o'clock. Like, I don't need a midnight conclusion to this game. Like, it stinks for the women maybe that it wasn't in prime time, but like, I would love a 3 p.m. Sunday NCAA tournament final. Like, that sounds great. Late Monday night, it's nonsense with incredibly long half seasons or half times. So he got H for Houston, F for Florida. I took my minimum once the games were over. I took Florida to win. Duke, it should be Duke. Duke collapsed. They blew it. Did not realize that I win one of my brackets if Houston wins because I have enough points and the only people left no one left has Houston that can win. So no matter what, I win tonight. It's just a matter of how much I end up winning. So who you got? H for Houston, F for Florida. I did not mean to play both sides, so I come out on top no matter what. But that's where we are. H for Houston, F for Florida. Let me know who you got in this one. And if you are ready for us to start the live show, show it by liking today's video. Goal was always that 50% like ratio. We're not there. Got a little bit more room to grow before we get to the 50%. We're barely at a quarter. So free, simple, easy. Please and thank you. Like today's show. Coming up live here on today's show, Cowboys news and rumors, Cowboys team needs. We'll do a mailbag as well. Get your questions in via hashtag Cowboys, skip the line altogether via Super Chat, and a Cowboys mock draft. This one's got a lot of trades because I felt like getting weird with it because it's fun that way. So that's all coming up live here on the Cowboys Report. Anthony Engel says, name your son Micah. It's supposed to be 10 to text the wife, but I'll do it on this one here, and we'll see what her response is. I got Micah. Curious. Oh, Jesus. I typed, though. That was not even close to what it was. It's almost 30 of what I actually typed on accident. So that's weird. Anyway, thank you, Anthony. Appreciate that. We'll see what her response is whenever she's not busy with work. So, all coming up live here on the Cowboys Report. We are in a like battle this month against the Raiders Report. These two channels have the most likes across Chat Sports through the first week of the month of April. Help us catch up to the Raiders Report. Like today's video and make sure you're liking all the future ones as well. It's free, simple, and it's easy, so please and thank you. Some news here for the Cowboys. First up, Saahdiq Charles, the offensive lineman, was worked out by the Cowboys over the weekend. Charles, of note, did not play in 2024 because he was set to be the starter at right guard for the Titans last year and then abruptly and surprisingly retired before the season began, which is a red flag. Charles was with the Commanders to begin his NFL career coming out of LSU, where he was honestly not great. Getting most of his work in their guard. The hurries are way too high. The run blocking was okay. I was a little surprised to see his name pop up on the wire just because he had unretired, hadn't had a lot of buzz around him, and then the Cowboys brought him in for a workout. Most of his time in the NFL, these are all the Commander snaps, obviously, has been at guard, has briefly played some tackle in college as well. This screams backup / let's kick the tires, see what he has available. The Cowboys have options in particular to start at right guard. The starting 4 is set, Guyton, Smith, Beebe, Steele. That right guard spot is up for grabs. Could be Robert Jones, who they signed to a deal in free agency. Brock Hoffman, TJ Bass, could add a draft pick into that conversation as well. But that is one to at least monitor, even if it was just let's see what he's got available in the tank, and then we'll, make a call beyond that. Also now available is Jack Jones. The Raiders, who was a starter for them last year, making the move to cut Jones before the draft in April. Many of you asking about Jack Jones, so I figured good time to discuss that since it's a bit of a lull before the draft here. And one of the more notable names who maybe you guys best remember is the guy that got absolutely cooked by Ryan Flanoy this past preseason. Ryan cooked him. Maybe broke Jack Jones a little bit too. We'll talk about that, though. Of those two free agents who are available, who would you rather sign? SC for Saahdiq Charles, JJ for Jack Jones. Let me know in the comments of today's video. The production from Jack Jones has been inconsistent at best. There were points at times this year where the yards were too high. The touchdowns allowed were way too high. He was a little bit better in 2023, especially with the Raiders. He was playing better with the Raiders in 2023 when he, after getting cut by the Patriots and then going to Las Vegas. Corner in general is a very streaky and inconsistent position. It is a volatile spot. And I think you've seen that with Jack Jones' play as well. Not to mention just I don't know if headache is the right term, but headache that he can sometimes bring. But corner's a need for this team. Trayvon Diggs probably won't be good to go week 1. The question you kind of face yourself is if they don't draft somebody else, which I'd like to do, is Jack Jones better than Kaiir Elam? Is he better than Kalen Carson? Because right now, or Andrew Booth too, right now you're staring down the barrel of starting one of those two guys. And which Jack Jones do you get? He was pretty good, frankly, in 2023 with the Raiders. He was not that good at all in 2024. Plus the off-the-field issues. Schottenheimer's made comments about culture stuff. I don't know if Jack Jones fits that culture. The lack of apparent interest in the free agent market currently for the Cowboys, maybe you should kick the tires somewhat there. You also probably would be better off just drafting somebody or trying to draft somebody at least. Today's show is made possible by Game Time. It is the place for your next big event. Not just sports, not just baseball, but everything. Game Time makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Price in the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch, so you can find some value by making it a day of decision, so to speak. There's lots of Rangers games available. None this week. You got kind of the road trip there. And unlike some of the Dallas area sports teams, the Rangers are actually pretty good. Maybe you got a better chance to see a winner if you go to a Rangers game there. Save up to 60% off by buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, and theater with the Game Time app. And the Game Time Picks feature makes last-minute ticket buying even easier by quickly hiding the best deals in the stadium, arena, whatever. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create your account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, ChatSports, for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today at gametime.co. Create your account, use code ChatSports for $20 off to get last-minute tickets, lowest price, all guaranteed, with, of course, terms applying. This one I was a bit intrigued by to see. ESPN had mentioned the Jets could potentially shop Breece Hall, depending on how the NFL draft goes, and it was all based on quotes from Aaron Glenn, who said he expected a three-headed committee for the Jets, a three-man committee that they would be in a rotation. They would not just lean on Breece Hall. Now, Glenn said he thinks that means everyone will be happy with it. I don't know if that's actually true because Breece Hall is in a contract year. It would mean less reps for Breece Hall right before he's set to hit the open market. And then Rich Cimini over at ESPN had this to say on the quote. Said Glenn's comments surely will fuel trade speculation. Hall's among a handful of players up for a contract extension, most notably Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson, both drafted the same year as Hall. It will be difficult to keep them all long-term. Hall is a gifted player who would attract interest if dangled in trade talks. Perhaps the Jets would consider moving him if Boise star Ashton Jeanty is available with the 7th pick in the April 24 draft. So specific scenario there with Jeanty going to the Jets, and then a Breece Hall trade makes actually a lot of sense. So if he's actually available, which is by no means set in stone, would you trade for Breece Hall? Why for yes and for no? Sound off in the comments of today's show. The issue with Breece Hall in terms of the trade cost, probably shouldn't be that much. He's coming off another not as good of hope for year. His yards per carry have dropped each season, 5.8, 4.5, 4.2. He was supposed to be a 1,000-yard rusher in 2023, but the Cowboys or the Jets forgot how many yards he had and miscounted and didn't get there, which is objectively stupid. Hall is owed about $3.41 million in 2025. So it's not that unfeasible. The scenario in which it maybe makes sense is if the Jets actually shop him, not convinced that one's going to happen. If the Cowboys miss on running back early, that probably means several teams took running backs instead of them. And it probably means some of those veterans currently on rosters maybe become a bit more available. And that could include the Jets, not even just Breece Hall in round 1, but if they go back early in round 2 or something. So then the veteran trade starts to make some more sense. I'm not sure Ashton Jeanty makes it down to number 7. If Breece Hall ends up on the block, then I think that is an option for the Cowboys. His play, again, has been inconsistent. Also, it's the Jets. It's not like that's a great spot to have a bunch of success on the ground. The quarterback play was bad. The O-line was injured. It wasn't great. In general, I would prefer to simply draft one on day 2. Then you get him for 4 fairly cheap years. And I think in the end, that's still the most likely outcome for the Cowboys. That the board falls the right way in round 2 or round 3. There's so many good players. They're able to find something that they like and want on day 2. If that doesn't happen, then I don't think a trade pivot and kind of plan B is that crazy. I think if you're missing out on backs, other teams are taking them, and that might make a veteran available via a trade market. Now, we are getting closer to 112,000 subscribers. We are 352 away. Hit that sub button if you haven't already, youtube.com/CowboysTV. Now, by no means new information, but the Chargers did sign Trey Lance to a 1-year deal worth up to $6.5 million. If that up to figure is accurate, that would qualify as a comp pick. However, we don't have the actual contract details for Trey Lance. And it is this was a couple days ago, Saturday, whatever it was, or maybe it was Friday, I don't remember. The days all blend together. It may or may not actually count for a comp pick because we don't have the contract details yet. It's been several days. That normally means there's a bunch of unlikely to be earned incentives that would not benefit you as it comes to the comp pick exploration and scenarios and everything else there. Now, the comp picks as it sit right now have undergone a change. And I want to address what's going on here because you'll notice, okay, you still get the 5th for Jordan Lewis. Nothing's canceling that out. Javonte Williams is currently canceling out DeMarcus Lawrence. Now, Nick Corday, who I think it's Corday, is how you pronounce it, who does the stuff for Over the Cap, had a clarifier. He did a long, nice one on Twitter of like, I don't think these are actually going to stay. I just pulled off some of like the placeholders as additional deals come in. In particular, the Javonte Williams comp pick, which currently is counting against the Cowboys and canceling out a Tank Lawrence one, and a Solomon Thomas one, which would count against a 6th-rounder, are both two of the last qualifying contracts on the comp pick side. So what you want is 2, 3, 4-ish more players to sign in free agency that are comp pick eligible. And what that would mean is it knocks out Javonte Williams. It knocks out Solomon Thomas. And those last 2 deals might not count. If Trey Lance then starts to count, it's even better. Right now, the contracts for Javonte Williams and Solomon Thomas are right on the bubble of counting and not counting in the comp pick formula. If they count, then you miss out on the 5th for Tank and maybe the 6th for Brandon Cooks as well. But playing time impacts this. More signings before the NFL draft, which you're right in that like bubble of will one happen, will it not? Have to be patient here. Trey Lance counting, even if it's not the full price tag, would be perfect. That puts Williams and Thomas very much on the bubble and might end up being the old 2-for-1 special where it could knock one of them down. So that is worth monitoring, and patience is going to have to be required here, unfortunately. So what is your confidence level overall in the Cowboys drafting? Scale it from 1 to 10. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. What is your confidence level in the Cowboys drafting? Anthony Engel comes in, $5. I'll do an extra 5. Congratulations. Thank you. Her response was, meh. Okay. So she doesn't hate it, I guess. She doesn't hate it. Ecuador man AOG, congrats on the baby Tom. Tom is a great name. It's my name. So thank you, Ecuador. Didn't realize we had the same name, by the way, which is awesome. Love it. Cheers to you, my friend. Thank you. Again, $5, you are entered into the Micah decision pool for when he signs or gets traded. There have been a couple trade predictions in there. It's just the date. So if you get bonus points, but it's like whose line points, they don't matter if you get trade or signing right. But it's as close as date is all I care about there. You can go to chatsports.com/Micah to see those entries, by the way. Then will be $5 at What Going Downey to enter the Micah decision pool. And there's a 50-50 split the pot for the winner. The take home right now is already $750, so another one will get to 10 and hopefully keep stacking since might not be over soon, if we're being honest there. $10, you can suggest a baby name for, I don't know what happened to the Tom's second kid YouTube account, but it's coming. It's a boy, by the way. And I am required by law to text my wife, and she will give a reaction for your baby name submission. So you can do serious or not serious names. $20 for a shot or the Bean Boozled, and $50 for the beer bong. Haven't done a beer bong in a while. It's been a little bit. We'll see if we get one here today or in the not too distant future. So get those super chats in. We'll head on to the next segment of today's show. I want to break down some of the top outstanding team needs for the Cowboys as we rapidly approach this year's NFL draft. What side of the ball do you think currently needs more help? They both need help. Which one needs more? O for offense, D for defense. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. We'll go in order of how I have them, and there's definitely room for debate amongst these, by the way. But I look at this wide receiver room and go, you got to get something else in here, man. You have Lamb, that is great. You are, knock on wood, one CeeDee Lamb injury away from having the worst the wide receiver core in football. Tolbert, Mingo, Brooks, Flanoy, Kelvin Harmon, Paris Campbell's probably not going to make this team. Kevontae Turpin is a fun gadget player, but he's not a real reliable piece that I think like you can count on to be a real true wide receiver. A number 2, whatever version of that number 2 looks like, is needed. You need to have one. And there should be options early, and I feel more confident. I don't hate the wide receiver class in general. I think it's been underrated. You should have options early in round 1 and maybe stretching some into day 2 depending on what type of wide receiver you want. But you need somebody else to help make life easier on your quarterback and your high-paid wide receiver. Number 2 for me is running back. And I get you signed Javonte Williams. I get you signed Miles Sanders. Those guys were backups, essentially, or low-end rotation guys. Deuce Vaughn, Malik Davis probably are not trustworthy players. You can't realistically go into week 1 going, yes, we have Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders and Deuce Vaughn, and this is our backfield. This is good. That's not a real answer. Now, the draft class is crazy stacked. You're going to have a couple round 1 guys, couple round 2 guys, bunch of round 3 guys, bunch of round 4 guys. You should be able to find one. It would actually be kind of weird if you thought you couldn't find one. The Cowboys claim they want to run the ball more. They haven't really done things to address that. Williams, Sanders, Robert Jones, those aren't needle movers. You need more there. So a running back is one of the things you can do to help address that. Number 3 then is cornerback. Now this need, I don't think they thought they were going to lose Jordan Lewis. I think they were a bit surprised by that one. For me, these top 3 needs are kind of in a tier. These top 3 needs are all kind of close for me. So what do you think of those 3 is the biggest need? Wide receiver, WR, CB for corner, RB for running back. What's the bigger need? Let me know in the pin comment, of today's show. For me, all 3 of those top needs are close. Like, you need a starter at corner, a starter in the backfield, a starter at wide receiver. It's almost 1A, 1B, 1C. Like, those are all viable. Because right now, you're probably not going to have Trayvon Diggs for week 1. So you're staring down the barrel of Deron Bland, Israel Mukwamu, and some combination of Kyer Elam, Kalen Carson, Andrew Booth. And losing Jordan Lewis hurt. I don't think the Cowboys wanted to lose him. I think they were surprised how much he ended up getting. So because that you have short-term questions, who's your other outside corner starter, and long-term questions. Even if you re-sign Deron Bland, he's about to be a free agent, who is like your guaranteed set-in-stone 2026 starter? You don't really have one right now. So I think corner is very much a big-time need for the Dallas Cowboys. All right, number 4 is the defensive tackle spot. And in particular, nose guard. That is a spot you have to address. I think you are fine at 3 technique. Osa Odighizu was there. Solomon Thomas is there. You could always condense somebody down in there, but nose guard is not. I think if you had to play a game right now, you can get by with Osa and Solomon Thomas and feel good, enough at least, about your 3 technique room. You can't say that about nose guard. Mozzie Smith, I think they wanted to be the guy, but they need somebody else there. At least someone to take 20 snaps. I don't know if Justin Rogers is that guy. I would love to upgrade over Mozzie and hope that leads to him playing even better and not just have a backup plan to Mozzie and hopefully it's just before August, like they did last year. The Cowboys claim they want to stop the run. They want to run the ball and stop the run, and their actions haven't really matched that. They haven't really done much to address it, frankly. So for me, you got your top 3 needs, some combination, wide receiver, corner, back, and then it's a line down, defensive tackle. And then there's a bit of another tier gap with 3 spots I think are all kind of debatable on the ordering, which we'll break down here in just a second. But first, today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. It is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Springtime is here. Baseball season is officially underway. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your Prize Picks lineup. Strikeouts, RBIs, first inning runs. Take your pick of more or less for your shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash today. Also, football. Season-long Prize Picks are available, plus pro basketball and a whole lot more. I've mentioned before, like the less than on all 3 of those guys there because Lions offense might not be as good. Rashee Rice will cut under Kelsey's targets, and Jaden Daniels probably won't be asked to run as much. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's CLNS over at prizepicks.com/CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. It's Prize Picks. Run your game. Let's go to number 5, edge rusher. And I think if the Cowboys had to play a game today, they'd probably be fine here, actually. They have Micah Parsons. They have Dante Fowler. They have Marshawn Nealand, who was a disappointment in year 1, missed time with injury. Sam Williams coming back from injury. Peyton Turner was a signee. You can run those 5 and feel fine. I think 2 things here. A, they're probably a bit traumatized by losing so many guys to injuries last year. And the Cowboys love drafting pass rushers. They have taken one every year under Will McClay, oftentimes in the first 4 rounds. They love spending picks on guys. Junior Fehoko, Dorrance Armstrong, Taco Charlton, Joe Jackson, even the 5th round. They love adding picks at edge. They consistently do it. So I bumped it up a little bit because I wonder if the Cowboys feel that is a bigger need there. I would not sleep on this spot when you're doing 7-round mock drafts like we do. One of them should be an edge. Helps when there's 10 picks, but still. Number 6 is the offensive line. Again, we're in that kind of like 5, 6, 7 are all pretty close on the tier side there. I wouldn't be opposed to another swing tackle. They're going to let Guyton and Steele start. Do Richardson will let's go? Do they trust them as the swings? I don't know yet. It's not a great center class, but it's the right guard question mark. It's got a big old question mark on it to an extent. Do you trust some combination of Brock Hoffman, TJ Bass, Robert Jones to get you through the season? They kind of did that last year, obviously not including Jones, and it wasn't that bad. They actually were okay, and sometimes even better without Zach Martin on the field. If you don't think right guard is a need, this is probably about right. If you don't trust Hoffman and or Bass and or Jones, you might have this need inside your top 4. It might be right up there alongside the defensive line. My gut feeling is the Cowboys feel okay about it. So that's why it's a little bit lower. I am kind of factoring what I think the Cowboys feel. Doesn't mean they won't draft a guard if there's one that they like, but I don't think they view it as a top-level need. Now, what do you think is the single biggest need right now for the Cowboys? If you want to do owner, that's fine, I suppose, on this particular video. I always say you can't do it. You can say owner today. Let me know in the comments of today's show. Number 7, the linebacker is next up. And I think, again, you could probably survive the season if you had to right now. We'll see when DeMarvion Overshown gets back, but you traded for Kenneth Murray. You traded for you have Maurice Leafau, You signed Jack Sanborn. You have Damone Clark. Buddy Johnson was actually decent on special teams. You get Overshown back. You could survive here. If you had to go an entire year, as long as you didn't get estimated injuries, you're probably okay. You do need to get Overshown back as part of that conversation. I think there are long-term questions about this room, but I think in particular a day 3 depth pick makes so much sense. You can cut Damone Clark, save some money, have a core special teamer, let Eberflus develop somebody that he likes. He is a big linebacker guy anyway. I would bet day 3 developmental pick makes a ton of sense. Maybe even double dipping at linebacker, by the way. Now, we will have more Cowboys videos for you right here on the channel. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/@CowboysTV. Number 8 is safety. And I think the Cowboys are content with what they have. I don't think they view it's essential to upgrade over the current foursome of Malik Hooker, Donovan Wilson, Wanye Thomas, and Marquise Bell. That's the only 4 guys they have on the roster, though. So for the actual games, I think that they're fine here. You know, next year might be a different conversation as free agency continues to impact the team. But for training camp and the preseason, they need help. They don't have enough. They can't get through a preseason because they don't want to play Wanye Thomas, Marquise Bell 100% of the snaps. So day 3 and/or undrafted free agent additions like they did last year with Julius Wood, that I would actually almost guarantee ends up happening because they don't have the bodies to get through just the preseason aspect at safety. That leaves mostly 300 spots. Quarterback, where if there's someone you like, you can take them. You don't have to pass on it. Same thing with tight end, but they have 3 QBs. They have 5 tight ends. One's coming off an injury. Special teamers kind of all factor into that, by the way, but you don't need a kicker, punter, or long snapper, so that's kind of how it works out there. But those 2 spots, they have enough bodies that they don't have to take one unless there's someone they really, really like. JetWolf90, congrats on the 2nd kiddo. We need more Q names, so Quentin. Let me text that to the wife right now. Make sure I'm spelling it correctly here. Quentin, see what she says on that one there. Also, what, in your opinion, is the worst position other than quarterback the Cowboys can take with their first-round pick? Long snapper, kicker, punter? Honest answers, I mean, center, because there's no centers we're taking in round 1, like at all. Everything else you can kind of like talk yourself into, well, that's the best player available. I would almost go 3 tech if Mason Graham's off the board. Because that's like Walter Nolan and, you know, maybe you count Derek Harmon there. I actually kind of would. And that's like kind of not necessary with Osa on the board. Mason Graham, I'd do it. I'd probably say 3 tech, not name Mason Graham in the end. It is a mailbag coming up here on today's show. Still no response on Quentin's, but I'll say it once it comes in there. 2 ways to get on the show. Super chat, like Steve-O did, like Robert Griffin did. We'll get to those here in a little bit here as well as part of the mailbag. Or just use hashtag Cowboys. Skip the line altogether with the super chat. Hashtag Cowboys gets you in the queue so producer Chris can find your question and bring them up on screen here. That's hashtag Cowboys or get on no matter what via super chat. This is, by the way, the super chat menu. $5 for on Venmo. And you're into the Micah decision pool. Closest date that correctly predicts when he signs or is traded ends up getting the split the pot. $10 for baby name submissions. Kid number 2 is on the way. It is a boy, by the way. I will text my wife your name suggestions, and I will announce her response on air. Which I think, if you pick weird ones, could be a good response. Or she offends you and ends up being really funny. So Tom's 2nd kid, whoever that account is, I miss you, is on the way here. $100 shot or being boozled. $50 for the beer bong as well. I've not done a beer bong in a while. Guess everyone's scared. It's fine. That is the super chat menu for today's live show. A super thanks to get things going here from Michael. It says, on PFF, I keep trading down, ending up with combinations of Ibuka/Burden, Amos, Revel, and RJ Harvey. We should trade down. In general, always be a little bit worried like the Sims, because there is a tendency of a pattern there that might not always result. But I think this is somewhat realistic. Secondary wide receiver tier, corner in round 2, back in round 3, I think is very realistic. I don't mind that scenario. I think you're getting 3 good players and 3 potential starters there. I like the idea in general of a trade down. Now, this came in via super thanks. It's a feature here on YouTube. Allows you to donate outside of live videos. Click the thanks icon, edit your message, send in whatever. We appreciate your support here. We'll always give you a shout out on the super thanks side. William Cook. What are the chances that this coaching staff actually designs a specific game plan for Milton if Dak is injured? I think decent. They did it with Cooper Rush. They didn't ask him to throw the ball downfield a lot, There were times it takes some time. You can't just totally flip out your playbook in 1 week. That's why you often see like some alignment with the starter and the backup with like things that work well for both guys. But I think they'd be able to design a specific game plan of vertical shots, use his legs. It might not be instant, but I think they'd be able to. And frankly, if they can't, then the coaching staff's just not going to work. At least that's my belief there. All right, Jason, a lengthy super chat here, and he and I had a good discussion on this, so I'll kind of sum it up a little bit and not have you guys read the whole text here. He doesn't want a first-round wide receiver, wants to get more defense involved there, says he can't stop the run every year, a number 2 corner spot, then he gets picked on against good teams. Throw the ball. If we go receiver the first, Soldiers will be the worst move for us. Defense wins championship, etc. So I'll say several things, and we could talk about this here. You need both. Your defense needs help. He's right. You got to stop the run better, and you need a number 2 corner. You also need a number 2 receiver. You need a better back as well. It's not about selling jerseys. It's that right now, when defenses are able to take away CeeDee Lamb with bracket coverage and stuff like that, when they can focus all their attention on CeeDee Lamb, there's nobody else that can step up on offense. There's nobody else. It's a huge issue. It's not the only issue, but it is an issue. You still need defense too. I don't want to spend every pick on offense. That's not a good strategy. I'm not anti-defense at all. I just think you can get a really good receiver. There should be some good values for corner on day 2. I can get a big run-stopping nose guard on day 3. Now, you can ebb and flow, mix and match those too, but I think you can still address all of those things. So, obviously, Jason does not want T-Mac, and that's fine. This is what makes the draft fun. Like, we might not see out on a player. So one of us will be right, one of us will be wrong, and it'll change each time. Who do you not want to draft, though, in round 1? Let me know in the comment section of today's show. It's the pinned comment, by the way, so be a hater. Drop that name for me at the pinned comment. Mighty Ants, what do you think about the corner from Florida State, Tom? Been seeing him and Revel flip-flopping. So that's Azareye'h Thomas out of Florida State. The 40-yard dash time did not come in the way I think people wanted. That is Wanye Thomas's brother, by the way, if those of you that did not know. This is very much a Cowboys corner. He's 6'1.5", 191, 32.5-inch arms. The speed is a question mark. He is a good tackler. Really wasn't picked on at all this past year. Team was like, let's just not throw in his direction. Doesn't have elite level ball skills. I think he is a good run support player, can be a bit more consistent as a tackler. He's an outside corner. I think he's a day 2 option. Cowboys 85. In the late rounds, I think drafting Restrepo will be good to be a slot receiver for Dallas. I don't disagree, and I think at this point after the really bad 40-yard dash time, I'm curious what Dane's official time ends up being when his beast drops on Wednesday. This is being filmed before that, obviously. I think he is a slot wide receiver. I think you're just hoping for Hunter Renfrow here. And even Renfrow was quicker than Restrepo was. But he is a good football player. And I don't want that to get overlooked. I think sometimes that happens that we get too caught up in the measurables. He can be a slot. The biggest issue I have with Dallas is I want to utilize Lamb in the slot some. And I think Restrepo offers zero outside flexibility. So a pure slot might not be what they're looking for. But on day 3, I think that is by no means a bad pick either. So outside of round 1, name a non-first round pick you want the Cowboys to get. Drop that player name for me in the comments of today's show. Steve-O, another impactful receiver and running back, all in on putting up points. I think you're right. Those are 2 of your biggest needs. You have to get a receiver too. You need a real lead or at least a rotation explosive back, because I don't know if you have much explosion right now in that backfield. You need some guys that can create for themselves. I feel like there's one player right now on your roster that does that, and his name is CeeDee Lamb. And not even really Turpin. Turpin just is a gadgety guy. He can do some stuff more horizontal, but not so much vertical. Robert Griffin. Doesn't look like he's the QB there. What players do the Cowboys get in the draft that we as fans would not expect? I mean, we've talked about, I think, some of their main targets. I think it's like somebody surprising slides. Like, you didn't anticipate one of the linemen being there for you in round 1, offense or defensive line. There's an injury concern guy that falls to you in round 2, and the Cowboys jump all over it. Or Walter Nolan slides way down in the second, and they just go, we have to do it. I think if they don't go receiver in round 1, I think that day 2 pool's pretty wide and kind of expands a pretty good amount as a result. So, there's the 30 visits are normally good indications. So keep an eye on that for maybe a guy we didn't expect would does visit and then becomes an option. Today's show is made possible by Game Time. Game Time makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices in the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. You want to go to a Rangers game, see a team win, or whatever nearby MLB team you have if you're not based in Dallas. Game Time is the place to use and get the best deals on tickets. They have got last-minute deals that can save up to 60% off when you buy last-minute tickets, not just for sports, but concerts, comedy, theater, everything else in between. Keep an eye out for zone deals. You save even more when you pick the section and let Game Time pick the seats. Because, who cares if you're in row or seat 13 or seat 20 if you're in the section you want, right? The Game Time guarantee is this. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. But again, create that account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, ChatSports, for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Well, last-minute tickets, lowest price, all guaranteed. Watson, I think that's how it's pronounced. Should the Cowboys trade for Jalen Hyatt because of the relationship with Joe Milton? I mean, if you want, I guess. I also, I'm not really worried about trading for a receiver because he played with my backup QB. Hyatt's got 2 years left on his contract. Milton's got 3. The timing might not work out at all. And Hyatt hasn't been good in the NFL. He had 62 catches last season. Shit, he might get cut after the preseason. So I'm probably, if I am desperate for speed, sure. But I don't know if that's where this team is at in the wide receiver room. Dwayne Jackson. What are the chances Zach Martin gets in the next Hall of Fame class, 2023, 2022, on the first ballot? I think he's got a shot to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think he should be. The position he plays might bring it down, but there are not many better guards, period. There was not a better guard in this generation, and there were not many better offensive linemen in this generation that were better than Zach Martin. So it is a question of when, not if he gets in. I think he should be a first ballot too. From Connor, do you want the quarterbacks to go early? I think he means or have them slide. I am of the belief that you want the corners to go early. The ideal scenario, I think it's unlikely, but it's the draft and it's a weird class. Stuff happens. I think you want 3 QBs gone in the first 11 picks. I think you want Cam Ward's going to go number 1. That the Titans essentially announced it when they scrapped their visit with Shedeur Sanders. You want Shedeur to go 2 or 3, and you want Jackson Dart, whether it's trade up or whatever, to go top 11 as well. Because that is going to push down somebody good. Now, it's a great idea if you can get someone to trade up with you. That benefits you because you get the quarterback tax in the trade. Maybe you get a future 1 out of it somehow. If somebody doesn't slide down, but if no one wants to come up as the quarterback slide, all that did was take away a good player from your board. So I want those quarterbacks to go early. How many QBs go in round 1 before the Cowboys are on the clock? Get those predictions in for me in the comments section of today's show. Anthony Engel, Shiloh Sanders at safety, and T-Mac going before pick 12. I think there is a real chance Tedero McMillan is off the board at pick 12. The team's down to me. He's not going to the Patriots. I don't think the Raiders take him at 6. I don't think the Jets take him at 7. I think the Saints at 9. Carolina at 8 are kind of like the two spots I've got circled of like maybe. Vibe I get is Carolina's probably going to go defense. Again, it's also April. You got to kind of try to filter through the BS and not BS, and sometimes it's real, sometimes it's not. But Saints with McMillan at 9 stand out to me. I don't think the Niners would. I don't think the Bears would. So he may or may not go. I do think Jeanty's gone, by the way. And then Shiloh Sanders, I don't know if he gets drafted, frankly. He was not great at Colorado. He gets a shot in the NFL. And I think if he's an undrafted free agent, it's Dallas, which makes a lot of sense because it's Sanders in Dallas. And, oh, by the way, he has to play a lot in the preseason, so that's actually beneficial for him. Or wherever Shedeur gets drafted. I feel like those are like 70% outcome possibilities to those two teams. From Jeremy Sanchez, if we double up on running back, who should we want? I think you're looking for different archetypes then. Like, it depends on, like, who do you take early, who do you take late, right? If you take, like, the explosive runner early, like, if you take a Quinshon Judkins or a Trayvon Henderson early, I'm looking for Kyle Monangai out of Rutgers as, like, a power runner, Cam Scattaboo if he slides or something, right? If you take the more, like, early down back, like a Quinshon Judkins who can do third down stuff for you too, looking for like a day 3 scat backs like Facial Tootin, Marcus Yarns from Delaware, Brashard Smith. Like, I think you're looking for different archetypes of like speed guy, more power guy. The nice part is there's a lot of all of those guys throughout this draft. So you can find them in different rounds on a pretty consistent basis. So are you a Cowboys fan? I would assume most of you watching are. So show it. Sub right now for free. Skeptical fans, should we get a DT in the 3rd round? I am open to it. Who's there? Right? A lot of this stuff comes down to, like, what players are available. Like, does Alfred Collins fall to round 3? In which case, I'm like, let's do it. I'm in. Does Jamari Caldwell fall to the 5? Like, or are all the DTs gone and it's a bunch of 3 techniques available? If that's the case, like, maybe it's not as you like if you get to the 3rd round and like Phillips is gone and it's like Elijah Roberts and TJ Sanders and Omar Norman Lott, it's like, hey, maybe this isn't what we're searching for. But if one of the big guys falls, yeah. I mean, how can you not have interest at that point? Brendan, why do you want Alexander so much? He is a head case. I am open to Jair Alexander because he's good at football. What you are referencing is a valid concern. Those are things you have to vet, and is probably a factor in why he has not been traded. But I have a big hole right now at corner. Alexander might end up being available. If he gets cut, he's probably affordable. It's probably then a low-risk 1-year contract where I am not as concerned about paying him 3 years, $50 million, and having him get hurt and be an insane person again. I need a little bit of insanity at corner to like have the right mindset. I can probably ramp that back for the short term. The Super Chat menu on today's show. $5, you are in to the Micah decision pool at What Going Downey on the Venmo side. $10 for the baby name submissions. Tom's second kid it's me. I don't have the YouTube account. It used to be Tom's second kid. It is on the way. $10, I will text my wife your name submission and we'll announce her response on air. Still waiting for the response on Quinton. She's probably in a meeting. $20 shot or being boozled. $50 for the beer bong. No 50s yet. Sad. Lucid Chart 32 says, W Riz Tom, congratulations on the second kid. It's the second kid. Is Riz actually involved at all? I kind of don't think so. That was getting her to say yes to marry me in the first place. Chris Broussard's burner account. You, Jeff Kavanaugh, Marshy are my heroes. Thoughts on Judkins at 44? Wouldn't be mad at it at all. I've got a second-round grade on him, so I haven't stacked my board yet. I won't do that till like the week of the draft. He'll probably be around there. Depending on what other backs are there, he might be the best one left, might not be. I would not be mad at it. I think there's your number one back. He'll lead your team in carries, and Javonte can be your third down back. I think that works. JetWolf90. There's always one player that was supposed to go in the first round that falls. Who is that player this year? Great question. I think you've got a lot of options of like, I think in general, this class is going to be, I think it's going to be weird. I think you're going to have a lot of like, wow, that was the pick. Like, remember when the year, because remember the year Cole Strange went in the first round and was like, what the hell? I think you're going to have a lot of those types of like surprise first round picks. Like, really, that was the pick there? Round one sliders, I think we're kind of already there with guys like Walter Nolan to an extent. And, Luther Burden slid a lot in mock drafts, and I could see someone like Josh Simmons not going round one, maybe sneaks in the back end of round one. I think James Pierce could slide a little bit. Maybe like a Kenneth Grant if there's like medical concerns that have popped up potentially there. Like, I think Marion Hampton's going to go round one. I think there's a chance Shedeur slides. I think he goes round one, but he might end up sliding. About other like guys we've had in round one that aren't going to go round one. I think that like 17 to 32 range might get real weird this year. Or maybe like remember the year Tyson Alou went 10th to the Steelers? That was always a wild one to me. Might have some of those picked this year too. Dwayne Jackson. Do the Cowboys stay at 12 or trade down or out? I don't think they'll trade up for starters. I am curious to see what the board ends up looking like. And that will probably inform. Like, if there's a guy they love, whether it's a T-Mac or somebody else, I would not be shocked if they said, let's trade down. If they can stand with where they're at and get a player they love, they will stick and pick. But, the year they took Micah, they wanted J.C. Horn or Patrick Surtain. Those guys both went off the board. They moved on a few spots, worked out great for them. That might be how it plays out this year, depending on who's there. It's just, I think they are open to trading down. It just depends on what the board falls like. Because if there's only like 2 guys they have first-round grades left on, they're probably not going to move out of those guys. Like, they're probably going to say, we have to stand here, unless they can move down 1 or 2 spots. Because the worst-case scenario is a repeat of the Travis Frederick trade, which worked out fine, but they took far less value, passed on a first-round grade because the coaches didn't want him, and took a second-round grade, and they basically screwed that one up. So they don't want to make that same mistake. That is how Will McClay became the Cowboys' VP of Player Personnel. That there was no communication between the coaching staff and the scouting department. The scouts had a first-round grade on Sharif Floyd. The coach said, we don't like him, actually. So instead, I think he's like their 6th or 7th best player in that class, drafted in the mid-teens, and they moved away from him and had no first-round grades left when they were on the clock. And that was a mistake. The process was bad. Results worked out fine. D Lunatic. It went away again, didn't it? Classic timing. He says, wide receiver, it's Alec Eomanor out of Stanford. Fit for Dallas, and what round? ? I am a big fan of Alec Eomanor. That is the Stanford wide receiver, by the way. 6'1", almost 6'2", good size, 206, 32 and 3/8-inch arms. Grew up in Canada as a hockey player, by the way. He'll block his ass off. If you want someone who is willing and able to block, there you go. He is a contested guy there, or a fighter on that front there. I think he has the traits to handle any offense. He ran a 4.44 40 at 206 and almost 6'2". 30.5-inch vert. I think he's able to generate some separation. He's kind of like, it's actually not shocking that I like T-Mac and I like Alec Eomanor. Like, there are some similarities there. Eomanor tested better. The athletic comp was Roddy White, by the way. Another one was kind of built and tested like Chris Godwin. I don't think it's Chris Godwin, but I think he can do inside-outside stuff. He was the one who cooked Travis Hunter in 2023. That was like the one guy that actually got the best of Hunter over the course of 2 seasons. Targeted 12 times, 7 catches, 133 yards, and 2 scores. He is not going to be an analytical darling. He had a bad yards per route run, a couple too many drops, no special teams value. The quarterback play sucked at Stanford. Stanford's starter transferred to Auburn after the season and is going to be their backup, Chris, QB3. Like, for Auburn, he's not going to start the Stanford quarterback transfer. He's going to be like their third string quarterback, I think. So, like, that's like the – let me pull up their depth chart here. Yeah, like they don't have – he was bad. Like, he was making highlight reel plays and catches left and right because they just didn't have the options. Like, Ashton Jeanty, I think it was. Like, he was not good in that area. You know, he might end up being QB3 behind Deuce Knight and Jackson Arnold. Like, he's just not good. So I like L.K. Orm a lot. I don't know how the league feels about him, but I would take him at 44. He's actually, I'm again probably alone on this. I have him as receiver 5, but that's just me. The 2025 NFL Draft is almost here. We'll have at least one mock draft a week for the Cowboys down the stretch. Sometimes ours, sometimes reactions, etc. We got you guys covered on that front. Because if you are, like me, excited for the 2025 NFL Draft, then show it by liking today's video for me right now. Let's talk the sim picks. Who went off the board in round 1? Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Shadur Sanders, Abdul Carter go 1, 2, 3, 4. Will Campbell goes 5. Ashton Jeanty goes 6. Armand Membu goes 7. Mason Graham goes number 8. T-Mac off the board at 9. Jahdae Barron goes 10. Tyler Warren goes to 11, which I was a little bit surprised by. So the best available guys on the board here, you got Jihad Campbell, you have Amarian Hampton, Will Johnson, a lot of your edges, Jalen Walker, Mike Green, Mykel Williams, all the other wide receivers with Matthew Goldner available as well. So this is time to re-explore the trade down in round 1. Bucks were among the teams I was doing the PFF sim, so blade them for the trade values if you don't like it. I'm getting a first and a second from Tampa. I gave them a 7th to come up and take the number 12 pick from me. So I'm moving down 8 spots. That's a lot. Off the board then. Will Johnson, Malachi Starks, Jalen Walker, Shamar Stewart, Jihad Campbell, Kenneth Grant, and Mike Green. So for the Cowboys, Luther Burden is there. I like him a lot. They might not feel the same way. They did bring him in for a pre-draft visit, though, so I like that. Amarian Hampton, also a pre-draft visitor. Trade down kind of puts you in the range for him. Josh Simmons, some other offensive linemen are all still there. They like Mykel Williams. He is available. Matthew Golden is also available here in round 1. Before we get to the pick, in general, if you get something resembling that value, do you want to trade down in round 1? Dropping down that much was kind of a gamble in terms of did you get the guy you want or not, but worked out for me, I guess. Do you want to trade down in round 1? Y for yes, N for no. Let's go with Matthew Golden then, the wide receiver out of Texas. He brings some of the route running and speed this Cowboys team just doesn't really have at the moment. He doesn't have the juice beyond Golden and Turpin, which is really more horizontal anyway. Golden is 5'11-ish, 191, ran that blazing fast 4.29 40. I don't know if he's really a 4.29 speed. Even if it's 4.39, that's a lot faster than what you have. And he's got vertical speed. He's got kick return ability. He's got great body control in the red zone as well. That's why he had 9 touchdowns. Didn't do a lot after the catch. Was more of a speedster. I get some Calvin Ridley vibes with his route running here. It trade down and T-Mac off the board to still get Golden. I think that's a pretty good pick in round 1. Want it to be a Emeka Egbuka? That's fine too. Or Burden? It's fine too. All right, round 2. Xavier Watts to the Bears. Darius Alexander to the Saints. Tyleik Williams, who I might have taken at 44 if he had made it down there and filled my glaring hole at 1 technique, at least at depth. Donovan Jackson's off the board, and Landon Jackson. So back-to-back Jacksons, I just now realized that, are off the board there. Different corner in round 2 at pick 44. Trey Amos, the Ole Miss corner, who spent 3 years at Louisiana, 1 year at Bama, and then 1 year at Ole Miss as well. Has a lot of the size the Cowboys like, 6 foot and 3/4, good 185 pound as well. Hasn't been the most prolific in terms of interceptions. Now, did pick off 3 passes this past year, but he didn't allow a lot of yards in terms of just pure yards. He got targeted 62 times, only 280 yards, which is kind of a unusually high number there. He did not get beat deep. 20-plus air yard targets, sub 19% completion rate. He works really well as a downfield cover corner. That's what he is good at. And the athletic testing worked out pretty well. The poor shuttle is an indication of, hey, he's not a nickel corner. But at 6 foot and 3/4, 185 and 31 and a quarter inch arms, that mostly checks off the Cowboys boxes there. I've seen some round one buzzer. The athletic comp is A.J. Terrell, by the way. Worked out pretty well for Atlanta. Others who are on the board, by the way, in round two, I didn't mean to go the all-name team, but Savone Revel is there, Princely Uman Mielen, Carson Schweschinger. Both running backs, Caleb Johnson, Travion Henderson, Hampton's off the board, by the way, were available. So I took corner thinking, okay, I can probably get a running back with my other second-round pick. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. Springtime is here, and baseball season is officially underway. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your Prize Picks lineups. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, first-inning runs, take your pick of more or less for your shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. It is the best way to get action on sports in more than 30 states, including California, Texas, Georgia, and plenty more. All you got to do is pick more or less on a few player stats for your shot to 1,000 times your money. Not just baseball, basketball, season-long football are available as well. Less than on Jared Goff. Lions won't be as good on offense probably with no Ben Johnson. Travis Kelce less than. He's getting older. Rashee Rice takes from his targets. I don't think the Commanders want Jay Daniels to run as much as he did last year either. I don't like less thans in general, but I actually love those three there. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. That's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. So some notable picks between my extra second and the one I have here, or the one I just spent. I actually feel good about the way I went about it because Caleb Johnson's off the board. That stinks. But multiple corners went. Ravel, Azaria Thomas, Maxwell Harrison. So had I not taken the corner I wanted, I probably wouldn't have gotten him. But I did get Travion Henderson. In round 2, pick 53 as part of that trade down from the first round. I get an impact back to help out my team. This is a big play creator, a big play generator who also offers really good third down value. He averaged 7.1 yards per carry this year. He was nothing short of impressive over the course of the entire season. He simply balled out. He was great. I actually have pre-injury J.K. Dobbins and some Tony Pollard to his play where I don't know if he can truly be an every down workhorse back, but he has the athletic ability to score any time he touches the ball. The explosion, the juice, the athletic side-to-side stuff is all there. Ran a 4.43 at 200-plus pounds. This is, I think, would be a great just early round 2 pick. I have a second-round grade on him. All right, let's go to round 3. Some of the picks as part of this sim. I did the PFF one. It's better for early rounds, and as you'll see, I do the other rounds. Joshua Farmer, Jordan Birch, Demetrius Knight would have been an interesting pick there. C.J. West off the board. Trey Harris, funny to see the Panthers take another Ole Miss receiver, but whatever. I don't know how realistic it is, but in round 3, pick 76, Alfred Collins was there for the Dallas Cowboys, and that is exactly what the Cowboys need. He might even be in play if they trade down in round 2. Collins is not going to be an elite pass rusher. That is simply not who he is. He's not. He's not built like that. He doesn't have the athletic pass rushing juice. The run stopping, though, is awesome. I think he's a fairly easy evaluation. He's going to stop the run. At this point at his age and career, I doubt he's going to suddenly develop into a better pass rusher than what he is because it's just kind of who he is at this point. The athletic testing was iffy, but he's got almost 35-inch arms. This is Linval Joseph. Has the size. He's almost 6'6", 332. There's your big boy to stop the run. You need that, right? Others who are on the board, by the way, R.J. Harvey, if you had written on the back, Jalen Wills at receiver, Mason Taylor, the value is kind of intriguing. Jordan Phillips and Jonah Naya, also kind of intriguing, like realistic targets there for the Cowboys in the third round. Now, I promised you multiple trades. We'll get some more here in a minute. How many trades will the Cowboys make during this year's NFL draft? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Another trade here. This is just me getting wild with it. F them picks. I don't need all those day 3 picks. I'm going to take almost all my extra day 3 picks, my later 5th, 6s, and 7s, and say, here you go, Tennessee. You need picks. I need better positions. And I'm going to move up about an entire round, actually more than an entire round, and add another impact player and not worry about having a bunch of 6th and 7th rounders in a class I actually don't like that much. So round 4, pick 120. I never get to take safeties because this team never drafts them. Let's get one. Billy Bowman out of Oklahoma. Look, there are tackling issues. He is not a great tackler, but he has 11 career INTs and 4 defensive touchdowns. He can do some nickel stuff for me. He played some at Oklahoma. Is probably going to be mostly a deep safety. Has the athletic traits looking for. They don't care as much about arm length at safety, by the way, because he's a safety. The arm length also explains why he misses a lot of tackles. He's not good at it, to be quite honest. But give me a playmaker in the back end. Kind of has the similarities to Jordan Whitehead. I think he'll probably crack my top 100 on my board. That's kind of the value that I see there. And he was by far the best safety left. It was not a great group of safeties on the board at that point. Round 5, pick number 149, Antoine Powell-Ryland. I am planting my flag on this one. I think this is one of, and for me, is the single biggest sleeper in the 2025 NFL Draft. I genuinely don't know how he's not getting more love. The production is incredible. 19 TFLs, 16 sacks this year, 15 TFLs, 9.5 sacks last year. And he is not a, poor athlete. He ran great at the combine, great agility or great explosive testing, great overall speed testing. He doesn't have great length. That's kind of one of the bigger concerns. I don't know if he's going to be a great run defender in the NFL, but for a situational pass rusher, your athletic comps here are Khalil Mack, TJ Watt, and Brian Arakpo. That is what he tested like, acknowledging that there's no agility testing, so it's kind of cheating a little bit there. I never thought he was slow. He has been insanely productive at the ACC level. This is a top 75 player for me. I don't understand why no one's really talking about Antoine Powell-Ryland out of Virginia Tech. Now, we will have more mock drafts all throughout the season, so make sure you guys are subscribed. YouTube.com/@CowboysTV. Let's trade again. Make a nice even draft picks. I don't love the board at 211. Let's trade down a little bit. Let's move down a couple of spots, pick up an extra 7th round pick, and fill 2 spots instead of just 1. So it's the 3rd trade of the mock draft. How about a Dallas Day visitor? Caleb Rogers out of Texas Tech. He has played every spot at Tech except for center. He will almost assuredly end up being a guard, not a tackle, where he spent most of his time at the collegiate ranks. The arm length is the real concern there for Caleb Rogers, but he brings positional flex, which in the 7th round is always great. And he tested, by the way, very well. Now, this is at tackle, but with, sub 32.5-inch arms, this is a guard option who can play left, can play right, kick him inside, add some competition there behind your current options at the right guard spot. Round 7, pick 238, Kane Medrano out of UCLA, the linebacker. He is not very big, but he is athletic, and at minimum should have a nice role on special teams. 11 TFLs this past year, 7 TFLs last season. I think can do some good coverage stuff. There are too many missed tackles, more than I'd like, but this is all traits, baby. It's almost 6'3". Let's bulk him up beyond 222. Look at all that green on the relative athletic scores. With, by the way, 32-inch arms. That is I think a Matt Eberflus preference at linebacker. So grade the Cowboys mock draft. A, B, C, D, or F? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Let's recap the Cowboys mock draft if you weren't paying attention. I traded down in round 1 to pick 19, was able to still secure Matthew Golden, the wide receiver out of Texas. Round 2, pick 44, was Trey Amos, the cornerback out of Ole Miss. With the additional second pick I got from the Matthew Golden trade down, I took Trayvon Henderson, running back from OSU. So I got 3 starters. I got lucky in the 3rd at pick 76. Alfred Collins, the DT from Texas, was available. I packaged a bunch of my extra day 3 picks to go up into round 4. Got a safety, Billy Bowman Jr., give me some playmaking in the back end. One of my favorite players, I think one of the most underrated players in the entire NFL draft, in round 5, pick 149, Antoine Powell-Ryland, the edge from Virginia Tech. I then moved on again in the 7th. I was wheeling and dealing, baby. Guard Caleb Rogers from Texas Tech, a Dallas State visitor for some extra offensive line depth. And Kane Madrano, the linebacker out of UCLA, for, again, special teams depth and additional depth at linebacker. Shout-out time. Grade the mock draft. A, B, C, D, or F? Let me know in the comments of today's show. Daniel's mad about a, quote, no-name 7th round pick. It is the 7th round. That's all that exists there. That's what you get. That's how it works. It's pick 238. How many names do you think are available there? Jenkins has me at 4 starters. If I get 4 starters, that's an A every time for me. Mostly B's in there. Jenkins says, give me Jaden Blue, Tom. He was not there. Someone also said they wanted Andrew Makuba in the 4th. Long gone. Would have loved it. Would have been a no-brainer. Was not there. All right, Steve-O, thoughts on 1st-round pick Will Johnson, 2nd-round pick of Marion Hampton? I'm not mad at it. The Hampton pick, I'd be shocked if he's there. I think that'd be incredible value. And I like Johnson a lot. So you got to figure out receiver still, but I got 2 damn good players. Those are individual A's for me, and you get a receiver in the 3rd. Let him cook. Noah Turner. Will Johnson replace Trayvon Diggs? I would not be surprised. He's going to have his workout. We'll see if he runs closer to the draft. But, I think Will Johnson is a real contender to be the Cowboys pick at 12. Like, if I were, putting money on it, I'd sprinkle a bit on T-Mac, a bit on Will Johnson, maybe some on Michael Williams, and see if I got lucky with one of those 3 picks. Lunatic, thoughts on Joshua Farmer and OSU Saahdiq Williams? Filthy sucks. Let me read off from my notes here. Farmer is, I think, 3rd on him. Late 3rd, early 4th. The testing was good. Not great, but it was very good, which I think matches overall with him. Again, this to me is it's kind of built like Carlos Watkins was, but I think he's a better athlete and will probably have a better NFL career. 35-inch arms is kind of insane. You would think at 6'3", 305, 35-inch arms, like run stopper. He's not this enough. He plays too tall. He's got to play lower. There's a lot of upside, and the current versions give me some concern. I don't see consistency out of him. But on the 3rd round, that's where I start to have a lot of interest there. Saahdiq Williams, I pull up my notes on him. I think I have a 2nd on him. Go check. 2nd round grade there. I have written down more athletic than Jonathan Hankins. He's also, I think, a good nose guard. That's what he's going to be in the NFL. If you want a run-stopping defensive tackle, you probably got to take him the 2nd if he even gets to you. That guy stands out. So Saahdiq in the 2nd, Farmer probably in that 3rd round range. For me, at least. We'll see how the Cowboys feel. We will have more Cowboys news and rumors and updates and everything else in between. If you haven't already, do me a favor. Make sure you guys are subscribed. We will have more videos for you, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow we'll talk some draft meetings as those names begin to leak out there. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/@CowboysTV.